Welcome back, gamers. Thanks for tuning in. Last week, we left off on a Tuesday morning on our Zero to Hero challenge. This character is now 3 days old, and so far, we've been able to accomplish quite a bit. Not only have we set up our character's weak ores and macros, but we've also tackled Raid Finder, and a few keys to get our toes wet. Let's see what we can accomplish now with the major setup out of the way and a full week ahead of us. Well, half a week. Well, that's how I decided to split up this video. Really quick, if you end up liking this video, please leave a like, and that subscribe button also doesn't get as much love as it should. Sharing is caring, people. Sit back and enjoy the video. It's Tuesday morning. First thing I did was take a peek at the Raid Finder and decided it's too early to do this to myself. So instead, I decided to start with my Mists of Tirna Scithe. A fairly easy key and a small IO upgrade. Let's throw this bad layer into queue and see what we can fish up. In low keys like this, I have a tendency to just grab the first few people who queue up. While it has worked for me so far, I know that's going to eventually change. Luckily, we picked up some pretty big chads for this key, and after a short few minutes, we got started. I need to keep in mind that bolstering is an active affix this week, and any key above a level 4. Bolstering isn't that scary in lower keys, but often you have newer players, so a bolstered mob can actually lead to some pretty big trouble if your DPS is low or players aren't kicking. Right at the start of the key, I always recommend to everyone that they move into melee when pulling these spike claws. They only jump at players who are further than 10 yards out. While it would be normally an issue, Spear of Bastion prevents that from happening during its duration. After defeating Droman, Mistcaller is waiting for you like, ooh, senpai. What the fuck, bro? Ignore that. I place an X marker on her head so I can actually shun her as if she was wearing a scarlet letter. With this mark, we are able to see which direction she runs through the maze, which allows us to solve the first 2 rooms without having to pay any attention to the guessing game. I can still see she ran through the left door and then up again to the left. Easy. No loot, but 53 IO always feels nice when the whole reason you were actually playing this character is to achieve 3k IO. How about that, haters? My key turned into an 8 Tazavesh Gambit, a very sought after key due to many BIS gear actually coming from this dungeon, as well as a short key timer. Now that Valor is an uncapped currency, we can actually lure in gamers with this treat. I mean bonus Valor. I threw it into queue immediately and grabbed the first few people who queued. Sometimes if we're lucky, we can actually get some super pumpers who will make threat difficult. Sub-level 10 key, this is a very straightforward dungeon when it comes to routing. Hold W down the shoreline and your percent count should be just fine. This key was super clean until we wiped down the last boss for unknown reasons. Oof, that spear, that hurts. It wasn't mine. Oh, Shuriken Blitz. People kick. Please. This key was big IO for me, another 125 points. Sadly, no loot. I asked for the ring, but in keys like this, chances are people are mean, or I guess more realistically, they just can't trade it. Alright, my fingers are warm, I've had my coffee, and I'm feeling good. So naturally, I'm going to queue for Raid Finder and kill my spirit. Domination Grass, once again, was the first thing that popped, and I think that's because more people just try to target Tyr, and this wing has all 3 bosses with Tyr on their loot table. If you remember last time, my tanking buddy didn't taunt. Well, this time, he wouldn't stop taunting. I know it's the lesser of 2 evils, but come on. We need that cleave, baby. Luckily, Challenging Shout helped counter his counter taunt. It was funny to watch him sit in the center of the room, just confused. Get wrecked, chonky boy. After Raid Finder, we walked away with 3 items. We got the Trinket from Lords, we got the Shield from Vigilant Guardian, and we got the Helm from Sausage. I'll be using this Trinket and the Shield, but the Helm will probably be vendor trash. Once again, I'm going to find myself attempting the world boss. Now that I'm starting to run keys, the gear from this boss is less important, since gear from keys can actually be upgraded higher item level, but I'll still take anything I can get. Let's check out Group Finder and see if there's already a group already rolling. No gear, but super good conduit. Let's go cash this in really quick. And after all of this, I am now 236 item level. This means nothing, but I'm happy, which is all that matters. Logging in, I got my first fan, I think. Oh, lucky from Area 52. Let's see what it says. Probably hate mail. Ran across your vid and laughed when I realized we joined the same guild roughly same time. ... Give me a shout if you want to run together on your Zero Hero Changeli thingy. Okay. They saw my first episode and joined the guild that randomly invited me in that episode, so I guess this could be fair game, right? Technically a pug, but now a guildie and maybe soon a friend? Nah, I don't have friends. For players looking to get buddies to help push with keys, this is a great way of doing it. Meaning, create a YouTube channel, put out mediocre content for 3 years, then have a life-changing event that happens to cause introspective awakening, which drives you towards your passion. Nah, but making friends in this game is easy. If you ever run into keys with anyone you like or does a good job, you should offer your B tag. Then you have someone you can trust, you now have experience with, and clearly plays at the same time you do, since you were just in a 40-minute key together. Lucky, if you're watching this, thank you, and I'm super down to run some keys. Also, check your spelling and grammar. After a few keys and rating, I wanted to add a few more elements to my weak aura package, like Spell Reflect, since it's a pretty powerful ability that I regularly forget about. And also, since we're running Reprisal Legendary, tracking Intervene and Charge is going to be pretty important to fill the gaps in my shield block uptime. After setting this up, I wanted to see if I could start getting into keys at this item level, and IO. I now have 343 points, 343. Necrotic Wake, nice. This dungeon is extremely easy this week and offers a few great items like a haste and versatility ring alongside a really good one-handed weapon. The dungeon was everything you would expect. We cleared around the sides of the first boss in counter space, I lost aggro to the mage on the first boss, we did a big Mindsuit skip past Norzuda, we did a large pull with orbs in Necropolis. What people don't realize is that this patrolling fresh parts, they actually fixate, so ideally everyone should just move into melee. Just, I guess, like a little tip, I guess. Once the gauntlet starts, a quick trick to get the two mini-bosses close together is by standing near the Separation Assistant, which spawns on the right side of the room, and simultaneously spawn taunt the Stitching Assistant. This will allow DPS to start cleaving early and make it easier to land the throw cleaver casts. We ended the key in a short 18 minutes and 25 seconds, and on top of that, I looted some shoulders alongside a conduit. This means I can now craft my 4-set. After that key, we quickly found ourselves back in Haven, and we added the 239 Piercing Verdict Potency Conduit to our collection. Off to the Creation Catalyst. Now, some of you will probably have the issue with the fact that I'm turning super low item level gear into tier, but I really don't care. It's my YouTube channel. And also, Valor is farmable, so we can eventually upgrade it anyways. We have a ton of Cosmic Flux, which means we have plenty of resources to spend on transmuting items into tier. Getting our 4-set is also a huge power spike. While I don't think the Warrior set is as strong as other tank sets, there is no denying that a 10% damage increase and 10% damage reduction on our Avatar cooldown is a massive asset. On top of this, when we use Avatar, we are also going to get a free Ignore Pain, and our Thunderclap and Shield Slam is 200% more effective. This means that it's going to do not only 200% more damage, but also generate more rage, which is just awesome. Lastly, I want to mention that this works independently from the 2-set stacks, so there is no awkward overlapping or consuming. This creates like a really good feedback loop that actually makes the rotation extremely smooth, and that's mostly why I wanted to actually get the 4-set so quickly. So after just 4 short days, we are now looking really good and set on tier. Now, one last thing I want to do is use some of our acquired Valor to upgrade my gear to a slightly higher item level. After this, I found myself at 238. Last but not least, let's get a new Xmod going for the rest of the episode. Perfect. Okay. My first bad key experience. Let's talk about toxicity in the workplace. I was able to sneak my way into another Necrotic Wake. Again, I know, it's boring, but farming BIS gear in Valor is actually great, but it's also practice. Especially with my new 4-set. There was a super great group of friends, Dead Like Me, Reverence, and Old Grumpy. Once again, Great name, but also not necessarily true to the description. He was, after all, very pleasant. Then they invited this asshole. Kangsung of Zul'jin. The key started just as I would expect. Rocky at best. This guy pulls for me, which is a massive annoyance for any tank. Whatever. Sometimes things will get pulled, and being able to adapt is what makes a good tank great. I do my best to get threat, which happens, but then he decides to pop CDs towards the end of the pull without using misdirection. A smart player sees where this key is going to be going. I quickly gain threat by using Challenging Shout, and we move on. For most of the key, there were plenty poorly timed misdirections from Kangsung, either none at all or after CDs were used. I'm not a smart person, I'll admit, but logically, I would think that you'd want to fit the most damage you can into that 6-second misdirection window as possible, right? For a Marksman Hunter, that would be using True Shot Aura and Resonating Arrow. Of course, if you play a different Covenant, that would be whichever Covenant ability it is. No MD, no MD, no MD. Oh, MD. Oh, but after CDs were used. Oh, same thing here. Point being is that I noticed these things. 9.25 is supposed to fix these threat issues, but guess what? It's not 9.25. Also, warriors can do a ton of damage when Ravager and Spear of Bastion are available, but in lower keys like this, sometimes I don't have that stuff on pull because of how quickly a 275 Marksman Hunter can pop off on the meters. Also, I am 238 item level. Towards the end of the dungeon, I was getting a little annoyed, so I asked him to MD, and I think quite nicely. I even had a smiley face. He then says that he has been, which technically is true, but then he followed it with this little number. I don't know why you are talking. Listen here, buddy. I asked you politely. Hitting the button during your CDs or outside of your CDs makes a huge difference. Look, you use it on the next pull, but not accompanied by either Resing Arrow or True Shot. Then our healer backs me up, because you're having to face tank mobs. Reverence of Burning Legion, you are a fucking legend. Then this asswipe hits Res Arrow and True Shot without MD again. Oh, I shouldn't cuss on YouTube? Fine, I guess I'll use randomly negative descriptors next time. What does that say when he gets 2 misdirects and can't hold aggro? Well, sir, it means that one MD isn't working, you bag of potato skins. Also, the MDs are now scattered, because my boy Old Grumpy is using it at the right time and you aren't. I let him know that I'm 235 item level and he replies with, "It's not my issue. I've been misdirecting." Whew, I think you guys get it. But just in case this pile of mayonnaise is watching, it's because you aren't using it when you're actually doing damage. Thank God our Warlock reminded me that I should be civil, so I dropped it, and I continued on with this extremely challenging key. Sarcasm, by the way. Moral of the story, don't be an idiot. And the MD the tank regardless of item level. Misdirection and tricks should be used during the windows where you're doing most of the damage, as well as on cooldown. Oh, and if you're a damp towel like this guy is, your group will talk shit about you after you leave. I thanked them for the invite, and I went on my way. After queuing for a few more keys and plenty of rejections, I decided to run my own key back. The 10 Mists of Tirna Scithe. I grabbed the first few people who joined, and shortly after we found ourselves about to start the key. But then I noticed something peculiar. I saw guild promotions being handed out, so naturally I inquired. There's a super dope rank called Berserker, spelled in a funny way of course, and supposedly you have to be in the guild for a while, and I've only been here for 4 days. I also asked what the other ranks were, and he explained it was Unfallen for KSM and Immortal for 3 KIO. I told them to promote me because I berserk all the time, and to my surprise, I got it. Thanks, Zigzag. I owe you one. I then said 3K is next, and he said, LOL. Little did he know that he wasn't dealing with any old player, no. He was dealing with Thick Pancake, the thickest warrior around. I quickly took a glance at the leaderboard for the guild, and I noticed that I wasn't far off from the top. Only 3 pages down. Anyways, this is my first 10 key, and I was interested to see how Pugs are with relics. I was also curious to see how it made my warrior feel. I have super short CDs, and having access to means I can be super aggressive with everything, like Shield Wall, Avatar, and of course my DPS CDs. To no one's surprise, we fucked up the woe skip, so I'm sad. When doing this woe skip, you need to hug the left wall so the true sight mob won't actually see you, which is the large tree mob. You can tell what mobs have true sight based on a little eyeball circle above their heads while stealth or concealed. We decided to continue pulling, and the lock actually was able to skip over the wall. This skip was supposedly fixed, or at least attempted to be fixed by Blizzard, but it still works if you jump and you can find that sweet spot. The rest of the run was super smooth, and we were able to complete the key in less than 20 minutes, and that meant a nice 2 chest. So it turned into the other side. The DK looted the 2-handed axe, so naturally I gave him a little grats, and I left the group, and I was feeling pretty good. I found myself at a crossroad, though. I could either keep farming gear and valor, or I could make some pretty large legendary advances. I decided to focus on my legendaries a bit. These were items I had complete control over, and I would officially check off my to-do list. When crafting, there are a few things to keep in mind: power, cost, and resources. I already have the powers, and even better, I have the legendaries in the slots I want, which is Belt for Unity and Boots for Appraisal. First, let's get our boots leveled. After all, they are my lowest statted item. First things first, I need a 291 base item. These on my server cost 19k gold, which isn't too bad. There are a ton of ways to get gold in this game. However you obtain gold, though, is up to you, and I'm not really going to spend too much time talking about it, though I will spend some time talking about it. Next, we need the resources. This will vary depending on if you are making them from scratch or upgrading them from a lower rank legendary. The biggest thing is making sure you have 2k flux. Sadly, I'm about 70 short, which is going to be fine because we can easily find this somewhere else. We will also need cinders and soul ash. These can be transferred between alts, but I think I'm going to farm this out myself, mainly because I'm poor and I don't have any cinders on any of my alts. I have found that it's going to be best to spend time in level 9 Torghast since mobs are extremely weak and most classes can actually speedrun this. I will say I've never ran Warrior Torghast before, so I don't know which powers to take, so as I run, I'm going to keep track of the good powers and I'll continue grabbing them as I see them. I'm hoping to be able to run these in less than 10 minutes. My Druid, for example, can run them in 4 minutes. So let's put up a little timer and see. First run was 11 minutes and 51 seconds. Not bad, but also not great. Let's try to speed this up. 8:02. Easy. We can go faster though. 7:50. I'm getting better. 7:29. What a joke. This took me roughly 35 minutes in total, but now I have plenty of resources to craft a massive 291 Lego. This is being transformed from 225 boots, so this should be a pretty massive gain. One last thing I need is flux. Remember earlier in this week when I chose coins from my vault? Well, yeah, this is what it's for. I'm short some flux, so I can just cash in a token for an easy 500 flux, and I'm off to craft my Lego. That's an awesome 4 item level upgrade, and now we can mark this off our list. BIS Reprisal Boots. Check. While I was randomly running around, I remembered that I forgot to pick up engineering as a profession, so this will give me access to battle res in the future and also perks in the other side. I just felt like adding this into the video, so I can also use the auction house here if I ever remember. I'm in Torghast mode, so I'm going to get my belt upgrade out of the way now, though this time it's going to be a little different. I have the belt crafted and it's in my bank. I just need the base item, of course, and the resources. After farming out the resources, we need to figure out a way to get the gold. Originally, I was going to send the gold over because I have gold available, but I wanted to show you guys a few ways I was able to obtain gold without the crutch of my mains. Sadly, the vendor gear near the Grey Vault has pretty poor transfer rating. 3 coins only gets you roughly 3,000 gold. Don't get me wrong, it's fine if you don't need anything from the vault, like, at all. It's a good passive source of gold. Like, 6 coins across 6 alts means I could potentially make 36,000 gold per week later in this patch. Anyways, I need to figure out a way to rake in 15k gold for this 291 belt. First thing I did was I cleaned out my bank of all my old corruption gear. Aw man, I miss this so much. Obviously, a new character won't have the luxury of old gear in stocked banks, but this is what I did. Honestly, don't know why I kept it all, but I'm glad I did. I just made 5,000 gold by vendoring gear. I then put in some reagents and all those augment runes I got from LFR, and hopefully that'll rake me in a few extra 1,000 gold once they all sell. Another great source of gold is actually going to be Covenant Callings. They typically give about 2,000 gold from vendor trash that it awards. I always recommend picking these up every few days because sometimes they are earned by killing dungeon bosses, which we're going to be doing a ton of. I grinded some world quests, turned in the callings, and all my auctions sold. I wasn't quite there when it came to gold, so I listed a few more auctions and decided to tackle a few more keys while I waited. Did another Necrotic Wake, which got me a shield. Not great stats, but a pretty massive upgrade over my Raid Finder shield. After that, I saw Gilly was trying to do a +4 theater, so I attempted to sign up for it, and I got invited. I've already said this, but finding friends or playing with guild members is a great way to push IO. I don't know this hunter, and I doubt he knows me, but regardless, the key was really smooth and I looted a fat weapon. Also, I haven't ran a Theater of Pain yet, so the IO upgrade should actually get me a few more points, and now, hopefully I can have better luck while pugging. During all this time, my auction sold, so it's time to buy my legendary belt. To Orgrimmar we go. You guys know these steps. Now with my fully maximized legendary belt, alongside my recent shield and main hand weapon pickups, we are now sitting at a ripe 245 item level. Now that it's 3 AM, it's the perfect time to queue for a 70 OS. Instant invite? That's gotta be a bad sign, right? Selfie! Yes, it was. Look at these overalls. I guess it was worth it. No scale, but massive IO upgrades at least. I decided to call it a night and I headed to bed. The next day, I jumped on and right into some pug keys. I wasn't really ready to tackle my own 12 DOS yet since I haven't timed a 12 yet, and I always like to warm up first, so I started with a 10 Necrotic Wake, then an 8 Gambit, both successful, but not huge upgrades. But they both have like multiple BIS items that I would love to snag. Sadly, I didn't get any of them. I'm still getting used to figuring out how much content I need to actually put into a single episode, so I decided to run one more key. So I decided to queue for a 12 Spires. And I got in. I was told I got in because of my note. Low IO, big heart. Turns out sometimes leaders actually read the note. This run was really smooth, and after the key, they asked me if I wanted to do more. I added them to my friends list, but we decided to take a break. If you ever meet someone who you enjoy playing with, this is a great way to grow your network. Sadly, we weren't going to continue, but I now have a friend I can do keys with in the future, so you might see him around. We are ending this episode at a ripe 838 IO and a thick 245 item level. We were able to conquer a lot of tasks this episode. Not only did we get our 4 set, but we also snagged our 291 legendary slots. We also probably made a lifelong enemy. We are getting there, so only 4 keys missing on Tyrannical Week. Next episode, we are going to definitely try to get some of those done, and I'm thinking I can snag a 15 before the week actually is out. Really quick, if you like this video, please hit that like button. My grandmother will finally add me to the wheel if I get 250 likes. Do it for Nana. Bye, Nana. Stay tuned. Next time we're going to meet